Hey everybody, it is Wednesday, May 6th. I'm joined here today by Pig um, from the Elephant and Piggy books. Different Pig than yesterday. Hope you guys had a great Cinco de Mayo yesterday, and let's take a look at our things for today. Take a look at those learning opportunity changes that we posted on Monday. Class hangout tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Hopefully I see you guys there. I'm looking forward to that. I always look forward to seeing you guys. So 10 o'clock. And I'll make sure I post a couple things about that beforehand so you know which one it is. But 10 o'clock, I'll see you guys there. Free lunch and breakfast up at the high school. Yesterday was tacos. That's a solid one. Taco Tuesday for Cinco de Mayo, so something good hopefully for today. Message me if you have any questions. I love hearing from you, or if I forget to make the video public, let me know. Sorry about that yesterday. And stay safe and stay home. For math, you guys have Prodigy and IXL. I did post a long video. You can skip through and find any tips you need on IXL. If you have any questions about the ones that I posted, let me know. Reading, keep that up. We are going to finish our read aloud today for City of Ember, and I will give you guys the um, information there to take an AR test at the end of the video. So take a look at that and take your AR test on that. IXL as well. Check out that social studies video. We've got a surprise, so make sure you check that out. And hopefully you guys can do that. Some of you have already sent me a response. Please take a look at that. I'd really appreciate that. And check out your FIAD music art guidance, all of that good stuff in the links. Last thing before we finish City of Ember, take a look at these are your math standards. And again, there's a long video to go with all of these. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you with that further. And now the conclusion to the City of Ember. We'll finish this today, and you can take a look at the AR test and take that, but we're going to finish this guy today. Our map of the City of Ember, that's long past because we've actually gotten out of there. And remember the instructions for egress and the warning. But if you remember, they actually got out of the city. They came out into the outdoors for the first time. They watched a sunrise and they talked about all the crazy things they're seeing. And we left off, they were going to read from the book that they found in the boat. There was something that was written down hurriedly. And they're going to read from that as they eat their lunch from the food that they have. Friday. So this is chapter 20, the last message. Friday. They tell us that we leave tonight. And again, they're reading from this book. They tell us that we leave tonight. I knew it would be soon. The train has been over for nearly a month now, and it still feels sudden. It feels like a shock. Why did I agree to do this? Am I an old woman too tired to take up a new life? I wish now that I'd said no when they asked me. I've put everything I can into one of my suitcases, one suitcase. Clothes, shoes, a good wind-up clock, some soap, an extra pair of glasses. Bring no books, they said, and no photographs. We have been told to say nothing ever again about the world we come from. But I am going to take this notebook, anyhow. I am determined to write down what happens. Someday, someone may need to know. Saturday. I went to the train station yesterday evening, as they told me to, and then I got on the train they told me to take. It took us through Spring Valley, and I gazed at the window on the fields and the houses of the place that I was saying goodbye to. My home and my family's home for generations. I rode for 2 hours until the train reached a station in the hills. When I arrived, they met me, 3 men in suits, and we drove in a large building where they led me down a corridor and into a big room full of other people, all with suitcases, most of with gray or white hair. Here we have been waiting for more than an hour. They have spent years and years making this plan. It's supposed to ensure that no matter what happens, People won't disappear from the earth. Some say that it'll never happen anyhow. I'm not sure. Disaster seems very close. Everything will be all right, they tell us. But only a few people believe them. Why, if it's going to be all right, why does it seem to be getting worse every day? And of course, this plan is proof that they think that the world is doomed, and all the scientists and engineers have been pulled in to work on it. Extraordinary efforts have been made, efforts that would have done more good elsewhere. I think it's wrong answer, but if they ask me, I would go. I suppose, because I spent my life on a farm and know all about growing food. In spite of my doubts, I said yes. I'm not sure why. There are 100 of us, 50 men and 50 women. We are all at least 60 years old. There will be 100 babies too. 2 babies for each pair of parents. I don't know yet which of these gentlemen I'll be matched with. We are all strangers to one another. They planned it that way. They said that there would be fewer memories between us. They want us to forget everything about our lives that we've led and the places we've lived. The babies must grow up with no knowledge of a world outside, so that they feel no sorrow for what they have been lost. I hear some noises across the room. I think it's the babies arriving. Yes, here they come, each being carried by one of those gray-suited men. So many of them, so small, little scrunched-up faces, tiny fists waving. I must stop for now. They're going to pass them out. Later. We're traveling again, on a bus this time. It is night. I think, though, it's hard to be sure because they have boarded up the windows of the bus from the outside. They don't want us to know where we are going. I have a baby on my lap, a girl. She has a bright pink face with no hair at all. Stanley, who sits next to me, holds a baby boy with brown skin and a few tufts of black hair. Stanley and I are the keepers of these children. Our task is to raise them in this new place that we're going to. By the time they are 20 or so, we'll be gone. They'll be on their own, making a new world. Stanley and I have named these children Star and Forest. Sunday. The buses have stopped, but they have not allowed us to get out yet. I can hear crickets singing and the smell of grass, so we must be in the country, and it must be night. I am very tired. What kind of place can this be? Safe from earthly catastrophes? All I can guess is that it must be underground. The thought fills me with dread. I'll try to sleep for now, a little for now. Later. There was no chance to sleep. They called us off the buses, and we stepped into a landscape of rolling hills and full moonlight. That's the way that we're going in, they told us, pointing to the dark opening in the hill. We stood on. Form a line there, please. We did so. It was very quiet except for the squalling of a few babies. If the others were like me, they were saying goodbye to the world. I reached down and touched the grass and breathed deeply to the smell of the earth. My eyes swept over the silent silver hills, and I thought of the animals prowling softly in the shadows or sleeping in the burrows, and the birds standing beneath the leaves of the trees with their heads tucked under their wings. Last I raised my eyes to the moon, which smiled down on us from long, cold, distant away. The moon will still be there when they come out, I thought. The moon and the hills, at least. The opening led us into a winding passage that ran steeply downhill for perhaps a mile. It was hard going for me. My legs were not very strong anymore. We moved very slowly. The last part was the worst, a rocky slope where it was easy to miss our footing and slip. This led down to a pool. By the shore of the pool there was a group of aged pioneers gathered. Motor boats were waiting for us, equipped with lanterns. When it's time for people to leave this place, is this the way they will come up? They will come? I asked our pilot, who had a kind face. He said yes. But how will they know there's a way out if no one tells them? I said. How will they know what to do? They're going to have instructions, said the pilot. They won't be able to get to the instructions until the time is right. But when they need them, the instructions will be there. But what if they don't find them? And what if they never come out again? I think they will. People find a way through just about anything. That was all he would say. I am writing these notes while our pilot loads the boat. I hope he doesn't notice. It ends there, said Lena, looking up. He must have noticed, said Dune, or she was afraid he would, so we decided to hide it instead of taking it with her. She must have hoped someone would find it. Just as we did, he pondered. But we might not have, if it hadn't been for Poppy. No, and we wouldn't have known that we came from here. The fiery circle that moved up in the sky now, and the air was so warm that they took off their coats. Absently, Dune dug his fingers into the ground, which was soft and crumbly. But what was the disaster that happened in this place? He said. It doesn't look ruined to me. It must have happened a long time ago, said Lena. I wonder if the people still live here. They sat looking out over the hills, thinking of a woman who had written in the notebook. What had her city been like? Lena wondered. Like Ember in some way, she imagined. A city in trouble, where people argued over solutions, a dying city. But is this hard to picture a city like Ember here in this bright, beautiful place? How could anyone have allowed such a place to be harmed? What do we do now? Asked Lena. She wrapped the notebook in its covering again and set it aside. We can't go back upriver and tell people to come out here. No, we can never make our boat go against the current. Are we here alone then? Forever? Maybe there's another way in, or some way that lets you talk down to Ember. Or maybe there's another river that runs another way. We have candles now. We could cross the unknown regions if we found a way to get there. This was the only plan they could come up with. So, all day long they searched for another way in. Under the brow of the hill, they found a hole where a stream wandered into the dark, but the water was good to drink, but the hole was far too small for them to fit through. There were gullies full of shrubs, and Lena and Dune crawled among the leaves and prickly branches, but found no openings. Bugs buzzed around their ankles and past their eyes. Brown earth stained their hands, and pebbles got in their shoes. Their thick, dark, shabby clothes got all full of prickly things, and since there was not much too hot anyhow, they took most of them off. They had never felt such warmth against their skin and in soft air. When the bright circle was on top of the sky, they sat for a while in the shade of one of the tall plants on the side of the hill, in a place where the thick brush gave way to a clearing. Poppy went to sleep, but Lena and Dune sat looking out over the land. Green was everywhere, in different shades, like a huge, brilliant, gorgeous version of the overlapping carpets back at the rooms of Ember. Far away, Lena saw a narrow gray line, curving like a pencil stroke across a sweep of green. She pointed this out to Dune, and both of them squinted hard at it. It was too far away to see clearly. Could it be a road? Said Lena. It could, said Dune. Maybe there are people here after all. I hope so, said Dune. There's so much I want to know. They were still gazing at the far-off bit of gray when they heard something moving in the brush nearby. Leaves rustled, and there was a scraping, shuffling sound. They stiffened, they held their breath, and shuffling paused, then started up again. Was it a person? Should they call out? But before they could decide what to do, a creature stepped into the clearing. It was about the same size as Poppy, only lower to the ground, because it walked on 4 legs instead of 2. Its fur was a deep rust red. Its face was a long triangle. Its ears stood up in points, and its black eyes shone. It trotted forward a few steps, absorbed in its own business. Behind it floated a thick, soft-looking tail. All at once it saw them and stopped. Lena and Dune stayed absolutely still. So did the creature. Then it took a step toward them, paused, tilted its head a little as if to get a better look, and then it took another step. They could see its sheen of its fur and the glint of the light in its eyes. For a moment, for a long moment, they stayed like this, frozen, staring at one another. Then, unhurriedly, the creature moved away, pushed its nose among the leaves on the ground, wandered back towards the bushes, and it raised its head again. They saw that it was holding something in its white teeth, something round and polished. Was this the last? With a last glance at them, it leapt toward the bushes and its tail sailing and disappeared. Lena let out her breath and turned to look at Dune, whose mouth was open in astonishment. His voice shaky, he said, "That was the most wonderful thing I have ever seen in my whole life." "Yes, and it saw us," Dune said, and Lena nodded. They both felt it. They had been seen. The creature was utterly strange, not anything like they had ever known. And yet when it looked at them, some kind of recognition passed between them. "I know now," said Dune. "This is the world we belong in." A few minutes later, Poppy woke up and made fretful noises, and Lena gave her the last of the peas in Dune's pack. "What was that, do you think, in the creature's mouth?" she asked. "Would it be something that we could eat? A fruit of some kind? It looked like the pictures of peaches on cans, except for the color." They got up and poked around, and soon they came across a plant whose branches were laden with the purple fruits about the size of small beets, only softer. Dune picked and cut one open with his knife. There was a stone inside. Red juice ran all over his hands. Cautiously, he touched it to his tongue. "Sweet," he said. "If the creature can eat it, maybe we can too," said Lena. "Shall we?" They did. Nothing had ever tasted better. Lena cut the stones out and gave the chunks of the fruit to Poppy. Juice ran down her chin, and when they had eaten 5 or 6 apiece, they licked their sticky fingers clean and started to explore again. They went higher up the slope they were on, wading over the flowers as high as their waist, and to the top they came upon a kind of dent in the ground, as if it was a bit of the earth had caved in. They walked down into it, and at the end of the dent they found a crack, about as tall as a person, but not nearly as wide as a door. Lena edged through it sideways and discovered a narrow tunnel. "Send Poppy through," she called back to Dune, "and come yourself." But it was dark inside, and Dune had to go back to where he'd left his pack and to get his candle. By candlelight they crept along until they came to a place when the tunnel ended abruptly. But it ended not with the wall, but with a sudden huge nothingness that made them gasp and step back. A few feet beyond their shoes was a sheer, dizzying drop. They looked out into the cave, so enormous that it seemed almost as big as the world outside. Far down to the bottom shone a cluster of lights. "It's Ember," Lena whispered. They could see the tiny bright streets crossing each other, and the squares of little chips of light, and the dark tops of buildings just beyond the edges of the immense darkness. "Oh, our city, Dune. Our city is at the bottom of a hole." She gazed down through the gulf of what she had, and all of what she had believed about her world became slowly to break apart. "We were underground," she said. "Not the pipe works. Everything." She could hardly make sense of what she was saying. Dune crouched on his hands and knees, looking over the edge. He squinted, trying to see minute specks that might be people. "What's happening there, I wonder? Could they hear us if we shouted?" "I don't think so. We're much too far up." "Maybe if we look into the sky, they'd see our candle," said Lena. "But no, they would. I guess they wouldn't. The street lamps would be too bright." "Somehow, we have to get word to them," said Dune. And that is when the idea came to Lena. Our message, she cried. We could send our message. And they did. From her pocket, Lena took out the message that Dune had written, the one that was supposed to have gone to Clary, explaining everything in small writing. They squeezed the note into the top. At the top, Dear people of Ember, we came down the river from the pipeworks and we found our way out to another place. It is green here and very big. Light comes from the sky. You must follow the instructions in the message and come out on the river. Bring food with you. Come as quickly as you can. Lena Mayfleet and Dune Harrow. They wrapped the message in Dune's shirt and put a rock inside of it. And then they stood in the row of the edge of the chasm, Dune in the middle holding Poppy's hand, and Lena took aim at the heart of the city far beneath her feet, and with all her strength she cast the message into the darkness, and they watched as it plunged down and down. Passage time. Mrs. Murdo, walking even more briskly than her usual to keep her spirits up, was crossing Harkin Square when something fell to the pavement just in front of her, with a terrific thump. How extraordinary, she thought, bending to pick it up. It was a sort of bundle. She began to untie it. And that is the end of the story. That's where it leaves off. There is no more. This is the acknowledgments part, and it kind of talks about the authors and the people that helped her write it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the City of Ember. Take a look at the AR test. Take a look at that one. We'll start a new story tomorrow, so tune in to look at that one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting story. And we'll take a look at it from there. Hope you guys enjoyed the book. Take a look at the AR quiz. It is 69274. City of Ember by Jeanne Duprat. And it's worth 9 AR points, so take a look at that. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a great day today. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in our Google Hangout. So again, the AR quiz is 69274, worth 9 AR points. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.